Now, there are legitimate tough guys too that I can give credibility to. That some of them, I can give you an example that nobody would ever know, but Bobby Eaton was a legitimate tough guy, but he was so humble and so, kind that you never think it. But I was in a situation in Memphis one time where we did an angle where I got my arm hooked in the top in the second rope, where I did a thing over the top and hooked the ropes and it looked like I had my arm tied in there. And Bobby was trying to beat it with a chair because I needed to have an elbow operation and we needed a reason for me to be gone. And I saw a fan running from where I was hanging. I could see him over Bobby's shoulder headed for the down to the ring. And I said, Bobby, here comes the mark. And he turned around. And from where I was hanging, I watched Bobby time the guy perfect, whereas the guy jumped the rail and Bobby didn't sucker him or catch him in a weak spot. He let the guy actually come all the way to him. And the guy threw a punch at Bobby, and Bobby stuck out his left hand and he got him by the throat. And when the guy threw the punch, Bobby pulled his head back and it went right by him. And then Bobby came up with his right hand and knocked him right out. And then I saw him start punching fans along the ringside area with no fear. Just, anybody wants to come on. And then he handled them all. And I got a total respect for Bobby just in that instant and never saw it again. But I saw it one time, and that's all it took for me to know Bobby's a tough guy. He's just a nice guy, so people don't think about him being a tough guy, but I did.
Yeah, the nicest guy as well. And for people, I don't know how many people remember this, in '94 you briefly tagged with him in WCW as well.
Mm-hmm. Bad attitude.
Bad attitude, yeah. Did you were you just sort of put together, or did one suggest the other, or how did you two get linked up?
Actually, Ric Flair suggested it, and because Bobby had been Stan's partner, Midnight Express, and I had been Stan's partner, Fabulous Ones, and Bobby and I, had a lot of similarities and stuff, and it was kind of a situation we were just kind of thrown together to create something. But at the time, Eric Bischoff was in charge, and I wasn't a real big supporter of Eric Bischoff's because it always felt like he was more of a fan in there in control, and he acted like it with the big contracts and who he was sucking up to and who he wasn't. And I never had a confrontation with him, but I never was a big fan of his so far as being a smart, intelligent guy that had the opportunity to run the business and knew what he was doing. So he was lost for what to do with me. When I first went there after being Skinner, and then a short thing was Doink, I went down there and he wanted me to be like a Jake the Snake. He asked me to get some kind of wild animal to carry to the ring and come up with some character. So I came up with a fully camouflaged thing, my face, the whole deal, camouflage. And I had an 11.5-foot albino python. And I'd carry it to the ring. And the only guy that would bring it back was Steven Regal, because he loves reptiles. Mm-hmm. And so it only lasted a couple of times, and they didn't know what to do with that character. And so they said, well, we don't know whether to make a baby face or a heel out of it. You've been a heel, you've been a baby face. So it was just a loss because they were being flooded by so much talent. It wasn't nothing personal. It just, excuse me, they weren't sure what to do with me. And sometimes you get guys that have talent, but you're just not sure where to put them. I was one of those guys, and when they put me and Bobby together, they had already beat Bobby like a drum. They had turned him into a job guy, and now they're trying to refresh him. And, it was a compliment to me to have Bobby Eaton as a partner, because he was one of my closest friends. And I have top guys in my mind. The number one guy in my mind is Keirn Hennig, was one of the greatest workers, or the greatest worker all around, everything, being able to talk, being able to work in the ring, balance, control of his body, second generation wrestler. He was a guy. And then Bobby Eaton was, but he just didn't have great promos. He was lacking in a few things, but so far as skill in the ring, he could do anything. And plus he could make anybody look good or make himself look good. So